Hey guys, welcome back to the Dental Duo. My name is Nico. I hope you're all doing well. In this video, I'm going to be going over 6 reasons why you should not choose dentistry. Now, all these 6 reasons are based off finances, and this video is kind of geared towards those who are choosing dentistry for only the sole purpose of making a lot of money. Hopefully this video will convince you that you should not choose dentistry just for the money. This year, US World News ranked dentistry number 70 in top 100 best careers. This has dramatically dropped from previous years. In 2015, dentistry was considered the #1 best job, and up until 2022 was considered a top 10 best job. Now let's jump into why it's had such a steep decline. Let's get started with reason number 1, which I'm sure a lot of you can guess it. It's tuition. Tuition for dental school is extremely expensive, and lately it's been increasing year after year quite a bit. To put a number to this picture, according to ADIA, in 2023, dental graduates had on average $296,000 in student loans. Now this $300,000 is very different to what students graduating in my year and future years are gonna have, because tuition prices continue to rise year after year. But if you're still thinking, I wanna go into dentistry only for money and tuition isn't gonna scare me away, let's go on to reason number 2, and that's interest rates. Another thing that's expected, you take out loans, you're gonna have an interest rate attached to it. But lately, the interest rates have been increasing substantially. This year, my interest rates had an 8.09% interest rate for my unsubsidized loan and a 9.08% interest rate for my Grad Plus loan. Now, if you didn't catch my emphasis, 9.08% interest rate, that is absolutely nuts. And if we compare the Grad Plus interest rates from the past, last year it was at an 8.08% interest rate, and the year before it was at a 7.54% interest rate. So as the years progress, we have seen that interest rate skyrocket up to an absurd value. To give you guys an idea of how that interest rate plays a role, let's take that $300,000 average student loan debt for a 2023 dental student graduate, and I would say both those values are underestimating what future dental students graduating are going to be seeing. And let's create a 10-year repayment plan to pay off our loans once we graduate at 26, 27 years old, which I would say is a pretty accurate age for a dental student graduate. If we were to pay off all our student loans in a 10-year payment plan at $300,000 at a fixed 8% interest rate, doing some calculations, we would have a monthly payment of $3,644. Now, if you take that $3,644 and multiply that by 12, your yearly payment on your student loans would be $43,728. That's quite a lot for someone to pay back every year just on student loans. Not to mention, we're using $300,000 in 8% interest rate, which, like I mentioned before, I think are both underestimates of what students nowadays are graduating with. There's some programs where students are graduating with $750,000 in debt. That's an outlier, I will say, but still, I went very conservative on the interest rate and student loans, and we still had quite a large sum of our income going directly onto loans. And if you're still not convinced, let's move on to reason number 3, and that is insurance companies are unfortunately not paying dentists what they deserve to be paid. Although equipment, staff, and overhead costs are all going up with inflation, insurance companies are not following the same trends, and they're paying dentists what they were paying dentists 10 years ago today. There's actually a post I saw recently from Dental Nachos on Instagram, which reads, "If you're wondering why your dentist is no longer accepting your insurance, I'll give you a little peek behind the curtains. Today, blank," I'm just gonna cross out the insurance company's name, but it's a very common dental insurance company out there, "reimbursed me less to do a surgical extraction of an infected tooth than what most women pay to get their hair cut. Let me repeat that to let it sink in. I got paid less to perform microsurgery to safely remove a broken, rotten body part that has potential to kill someone if left untreated than most women pay to get a cut and a blowout." Although Dr. Lopez's comparison was comical, it's kind of sad that these insurance companies have been taking advantage of providers and not increasing the reimbursement to match inflation rates. 10, even 20 years ago, Dentists made a very strong salary, but unfortunately they're not making much more than what they were making 15 years ago. Moving on to reason number 4, the opportunity cost. Going to dental school, as I mentioned already, is not cheap. Not only is it not cheap, you're also sacrificing years and years of your time and valuable effort to become a dentist. For a traditional student, we're talking 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of dental school to become a dentist. Some people need to take 1 gap year, even 2 gap years or more to make their application more competitive and get into dental school. Others graduate dental school and are required to complete a GPR or AEGD residency to practice if they live in a state like New York. So although it's an 8-year career, it's not uncommon to see people take 10, 11 years to get their dental degree. 8 to around 11 years is quite a long sacrifice for someone making around $160,000 before taxes. Now that might sound like a lot of money to some of you, but if we take that $160,000, subtract taxes, subtract our modest 43 and change $1,000 in student loans that we have to repay for the next 10 years out of dental school, you're looking at around a $77,000 salary. Considering you're working extremely hard, 8 to 11 years to make a salary of around $70,000 after taxes, that's not the best bang for your buck. And I would argue you could very easily find a finance job that can pay you more with a 4-year business degree. Now moving on to reason number 5, which a lot of people tend to ignore, it's the continued education and licensing fees after you graduate. 8, 10, 11 years down the line, we just graduated. Yeah, we have a lot of loans, but we're feeling on top of the world. Well, guess what? Now we have to invest in ourselves and spend tens of thousands of dollars on CE courses just to try to stay on top of what the standard is nowadays in dentistry. On top of that, to be a state licensed dentist, you have to pay a bunch of licensing fees, which add on to the cost of becoming a dentist. In many states, this licensing fee has to be paid every 2 years. That's an additional cost you have to think about. Moving on to the last reason, reason number 6, we have injuries and surgeries. If you're a dental student or a dentist, you definitely know this, but dentistry is a very physically demanding career. And with that comes a lot of injuries to your back, to your neck, to your hands. A lot of dentists develop carpal tunnel syndrome, etc. And all these injuries that you acquire while working unfortunately cost money. Now, according to this study, 82% of dentists experience MSDs, which are musculoskeletal disorders. And I can't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but I remember I had a dental school lecture emphasizing the importance of ergonomics while in dentistry. And I think my faculty told us 3 in every 5 dentists have to get some sort of surgery. Now, don't quote me on that number. I'll see if I could pop up the exact number above.
I went through a bunch of PowerPoints and I could not find the exact example I was talking about. However, going to PubMed, there's so many different articles and examples of work-related injuries due to dentistry. For example, this article, The Prevalence of Occupational Health-Related Problems in Dentistry, a review of the literature. This compiled a bunch of studies, and if we look at the results, they tested to see how many dentists had musculoskeletal disorders, and they had a prevalence of 88.9% in the dentists and 83.6% in the orthodontists. There's a bunch of studies, so I highly recommend you going to PubMed and checking this out, and you could actually just click there and see each study. So just go to PubMed, and this is the one we were just looking at. So yeah, highly recommend you look into this. This is definitely something to think about when choosing dentistry as a career.
But yeah, those are reasons why I would strongly persuade you to consider a different career if your sole purpose of becoming a dentist is to make a lot of money. Now, I'm saying this as a current dental student, so clearly these factors did not drive me away to the profession. And that's because dentistry is such an amazing career choice. And aside from these factors, if you're doing dentistry for the right reason, there's a lot of ways you can minimize the amount of student loans you take out, in addition to controlling some of these factors I mentioned. And at the end of the day, we were just using average numbers, and just because these numbers are an average doesn't mean you have to be an average dentist. There's a lot of dentists making well over 300,000, and there's even some dentists making over 7 figures. So don't cut yourself short, but don't go into dentistry for the wrong reason. Make sure you have the right morals, and if you do, then dentistry can be an extremely rewarding career, in addition to a career that can pay well with the right approach.
In 1 week, Kathleen will be dropping a video on why you should go into dentistry, and I highly recommend watching that video, so stay tuned for that. And if this video was helpful, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. It helps us out immensely, and yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.